What's up, everybody? Wanted to share my latest build. This is a first build video I've done for Outriders. I'm actually really enjoying the game after talking shit about it after the demo and did not enjoy the demo. I'm actually really liking the game. I highly recommend it. And I am not being paid. I'm not an ambassador or any of that. I just truly am enjoying the game. I started with a Technomancer, but I got bored with just the, real basic build and did a Devastator build. This is my Devastator build. It's very, very strong. It frequently is the most damage in the group, and I'm very, very tanky. And I'm going to go over it. It's a strange build in the way you play it, and you don't necessarily need to use the Moaning Winds that I'll show you, but the build works without it. But it is a nice added bonus. So first off, I guess I will show the guns. I don't know how to really say this word. I'm just going to call it the enemy, even though it's not that. It's the Animoy. It's an automatic shotgun. This is what rolls with Moaning Winds. And Moaning Winds, when you read it, doesn't seem that great. Reloading creates a strong blast around you, dealing a bunch of damage to enemies in a range of 8 meters. And it has an 8-second cooldown. It's not that cool if you just think about it as, that's not much damage every 8 seconds. The other gun is the Death Shield. This one gives you Fortress. Receive up to 43% damage bonus based on your armor. I'm not sure the ratios, but it's giving me that 43%. I don't know how much armor you need to have to get it, but yeah. You want that on both of these guns, which unfortunately means you need to find 2 of them. And I'll demonstrate why you want it on both. Next, you're going to want a pistol with Fortress and Status Power and Skills Life Leech. Those are the primary attributes you're going to want. You could get Weapon Life Leech. It doesn't really matter what's on top because it's more of just, this is what you're going to be holding. You don't ever use these shotguns. You only swap to them briefly. And then your secondary stat can be either something like Death Chains. It's got to be a tier 2. It's got to be on the gun since you need to roll Fortress. Very important. Or if you want to go super sweat mode with the maximum amount of damage possible, you would use something like, where is it? Resistance Breaker with Fortress. I'm still trying to find a Skills Life Leech Status Power Resistance Breaker pistol, which I haven't found yet. But Death Chains is also really nice if things are bleeding with this build. Death Chains will do a lot of damage. So that's the guns. I'll demonstrate how to use them and the rotation with them after we go through the build. This build is really a Seismic Commander's build. It's, the 3-piece set. The 3-piece bonus gives you 50% damage towards enemies inflicted with bleed. Okay? So that doesn't make the bleed do more damage. It just makes... actually, it does. If they're bleeding, the bleed will do more damage because all damage towards them is increased with this set. And the helmet, chest, and pants are the good pieces. They all roll with anomaly power. The gloves and the boots roll with max health, which is not what you really want. So preferably, you're going to want all 3 of those. This version of the build uses Earthquake and Impale as its primary damage dealers. And I use Reflect Bullets. You can also choose to use Golem, but I will explain in this video why I think Reflect Bullets is a way better choice. So as far as your stats go, you want to have Anomaly Power, Status Power, and Cooldown Reduction in every slot possible. You can't re-roll those on the legendaries, so this one's Anomaly Status Skill Leech. This one's got Status Power Cooldown. This one's got Status Power Cooldown. And then your purples, you're going to want the same thing. My boots, I still don't have one with Status Power, so I'm running Skills Life Leech. That's going to be your second best option if you're not running Status Power. Now, as far as the mods go, the helmet comes with a very important one. Ultimate Impaler, Tier 3. It allows you to activate it 2 more times, so you get 3 activations before the cooldown starts. It also comes with Blood Shock, which is a very useful skill. It's really important. When you Earthquake, it inflicts bleed on enemies. Very, very important. Chest piece comes with Palisade, also important. The Impale skill can strike 2 additional targets. With just this mod, 1 Impale can hit 3 targets if they're in range. And that's really strong since you can do it 3 times. I rolled Rivers of Blood on this. I forget what it comes with originally, but Impale increases skill damage by 50% to enemies afflicted with bleed. This is actually really strong, so preferably you would open up with a Earthquake to make them bleed, and then you would impale them rather than impaling them first. Now, the pants, they come with Tainted Blood. It's a tier 3. It's very good. Increases damage dealt to enemies afflicted with bleed by 25%. And I rolled on to this Bloody Boost. It's an additional 15%. With these pants and the 3-piece set bonus, we do 90% bonus damage to enemies that are bleeding. That's any skill that you use, any modification on your guns, anything. The bleeds, whatever it is, as long as they're bleeding, you're doing a ton of extra damage on them. My gloves, the other important talents here are Ground Crush. It increases your skill's base damage by, this is basically doubles the base damage. I think that's around the same base damage Earthquake would have. And Extra Quake, it will allow you to activate it a second time, an extra time before triggering the cooldown. And then my boots have the tier 3 second Quake. I forget which piece of gear you extract this from, but it's one of the legendary pieces. It's either the gloves or the boots. But you want to put that on there. It allows you another activation of Earthquake, 3 in total. And then Sharpened Spike, very important for Impale. It's basically doubles the base damage, adds 130 to it. And those are the skills. Pretty optimal. We've tried different versions. I've tried running instead of Bloody Boost, the Captain Hunter for damage to elites. I just don't think it's really worth it. Because, you know, you'll do 10% more damage to elites, but 15% less damage to everything else. I've tried dropping Rivers of Blood and adding Captain Hunter. All of it didn't seem as good as the way it sits here. So, as far as the skill tree goes, there's a lot of things that aren't really an option. You have to take them, but you pretty much have around 2 to 4 points to decide where you want to go. I've done some testing with anomaly power increase or status power increases and what they do to my bleed damages. And they're pretty much just multiplicative. 30% status power is going to cause your bleeds to hit for 30% more damage. But in this bottom tree, Bloodbath, bleed afflicted on enemies deals 30% more damage. This was only about, I don't know, 9% damage increase. So when I had this and this for 60% more, I wasn't even getting 20% damage increase on my bleeds. A single roll of status effect at 30% was better than both of these skills. So then it made me, normally I had blood donation here. You're healed for 25% of your bleed damage. Seemed really good, but it wasn't actually as good as I thought. As long as you have enough skill life leech, which you can pick up here and here, as well as you want it on your pistol and potentially one piece of gear. It depends. You want to have around 20% skill life leech is what I would recommend. And one mistaken thing about life leech in this game is if it says you get 10 or 20%, it's 20% of your damage up to a maximum of 20% of your health. So if you only had 10% life leech and you hit for 10 million damage, you're not going to fill your health up. You'll only get 10% of your health. So keep that in mind. It will heal you for your damage, but only up to the percent that you have. So 20%, every earthquake I do is going to heal me for 20% per enemy hit if I'm dealing enough damage to do it. And the bleeds also benefit from that. So when I tested it, blood donation was kind of like adding 25% skill leech to only my bleeds, but it just wasn't that big of a difference. It really wasn't. And as long as you have multiple things bleeding, you have a constant heal anyways, and then all of your skills are pretty much full, or not full healing, but if you're hitting multiple targets, will be full healing you. So the way this goes, we got anomaly power, cooldown reduction from your Impale and Earthquakes, skill life leech, another anomaly power. This down here is really important. I'll go into this after we go through the tree. Paladin, using protection skills increases anomaly power by 45% for 10 seconds. This is very, very important. This puts over 50,000 anomaly power on my build when I pop this. And the only skills affected by it are Golem or Reflect Bullets. Then up here, I'll show you this afterwards. This is kind of the choice that I pathed out to. Resistance Piercing, very important. Anomaly power again. Seismic skills, cooldown reduction. Anomaly power. Increased damage by 20% against enemies below 30% health. These nodes here are increased bleed duration. I don't think this is needed. There's 2 different durations. Usually the stuff is dead by the time, you know, that would happen anyways. And bleed, it reapplies when you use a skill that makes them bleed. It just reapplies. It doesn't stack, but it refreshes the timer. Another anomaly power here. It's more skill life leech. Up here is increased armor bonus by 40% of your anomaly power. That is great, especially when you use this. This puts me up to 200,000 anomaly power when this is active. And then here, increase armor by 20% and resistance by 20% for 10 seconds when one of your skills ends. So a single earthquake, and all of a sudden you've got 20% armor and resistance. Up here, another resistance pierce. I don't choose this bloodbath. It was not worth it. And then the final one is increases seismic skills base damage by 50%. So your Impale and your Earthquake. Now, I used to spec down here, but instead I went up this way. A friend of mine, he runs this, which is pointless, but he wants this here. Increase armor by 7% for each enemy in close range. We already have so much armor. I don't think that's really worth it. And when there's a bunch of enemies in close range, they're usually trash mobs that don't really kill you. What I find kills me the most is, you know, Broodmother's blue fire on the ground, or fire, or bleeds, or whatever it is, some status or anomaly power attacks. So what I chose to do is come up here. This is another cooldown reduction for protection skills. So Golem and Reflect. Right here, after using the class melee skill, it increases resistance piercing by 15% for each enemy hit for 10 seconds. This is actually really strong. If you are sprinting and you do your melee, you can hit easily 3 to 5 enemies. And 3 enemies, that's 45 piercing. 5 enemies, that'd be 75% resistance piercing, which all your skills benefit from resistance piercing. It's very, very strong. And I'm not very good at meleeing because sprint is really stupid in this game. But it's something that's worth doing. And then what I chose with my extra 2 points, instead of these 2, I unspecced down here and I went up here. This one's pretty much pointless. Max health 10%, but right here, Resistance Paragon. It increases your resistance by 20%. So at minimum, you're running around with 20% resistance. And once you use a skill, you have 40%. And that's a big difference. I've noticed a very, very noticeable change in how much damage I take from fire now, or the Broodmother's, you know, blue fire on the ground and bleeds and everything. Having that extra damage reduction makes a big difference. So 20% right now. If we use one skill, now we're at 40%. And it's really, really worth it. Now, the reason I use Reflect Bullets instead of Golem, I will show you. People, this is the most common question people ask me. Why Reflect Bullets instead of Golem? Well, right now, Reflect Bullets is a 13.6 second cooldown, and I'm missing 1 cooldown reduction roll on my gear. Actually, no, I'm not. I have it. I just haven't optimized it because it's a crappy piece of gear I'm not even wasting the stuff on. But it's around a 13 second cooldown. Golem is a 16 second cooldown, 16.3 right now. And it lasts 8 seconds. Sure, it does give you 65% damage reduction. So running solo, or if you're having major issues dying, which you shouldn't be in this build, Golem could potentially be worth it. But here's the thing. Paladin, giving you that anomaly power for 45 seconds, it lasts 10 seconds. So when we use this skill, you'll see right now, we've got 148,000 anomaly power. If we use the skill, you just deactivate it, and now we've got 200,000 with a 13-second cooldown. The buff lasts 10 seconds, which means we only have a downtime of 3 seconds of that anomaly power bonus, and then we can pop it again. And you just disable it. The buff starts right when you use the skill. Now, let me show you the problem with Golem. Let me wait for this cooldown to come off. If we were to use Golem, when we pop Golem, it lasts 8 seconds. There is things you can make extend it, but that actually makes this kind of worse. So 2 more seconds, now the buff is gone. But the cooldown just started. So now we have to sit here with no anomaly power buff. So all of our attacks are quite a bit weaker for a really long time. And now we have it again. So really, that 10-second buff is only working for Golem plus 2 seconds. And then we have another, 14 seconds basically of downtime. 16 minus the 2 from the buff. That lasts a little bit longer. We have 14 seconds of downtime with Golem. And with Reflect Bullets, we only have 3 seconds. So, highly recommend Reflect Bullets unless, I guess, you're playing solo and have to have bursts of survivability from Golem. Now, back to the guns. Moaning Winds with Fortress, really important. The thing that sucks is you're going to need 2 of these and 2 of these. 1 to wear and 1 to break down of each. Second best gun, if you don't have it, would be you want to make sure you wear your Death Shield and put Moaning Winds on it. So you could break down your first one of these, roll Moaning Winds on a pistol, roll Moaning Winds on a Death Shield, and then roll Moaning Winds on the Guillotine. Guillotine is the second best option. Radiation Splash. It pairs really well with Moaning Winds. It causes an explosion when you reload that gives vulnerable and deals damage. So that's your next best option there. And then you would be carrying the Death Shield for Fortress, and you would swap to this gun and this gun to pop your Moaning Winds, and then back to your Death Shield. And what I mean to swap is emptying your guns and swapping to them to get the proc, and then changing back to your main gun. Since I have the guns, I run my pistol at all times. So what we would do is first when you start, you would empty one of your shotguns, then empty your other shotgun, and then switch to your pistol. Now you can, use your skills. The thing with Earthquake is as long as you're pushing forward or backwards, it kills the attack animation. So you can actually pop 3 of these really, really quickly. Impale only works if there's a target. So really what you'd want to do is pop your Reflect. I would say do 1 Earthquake, then pop 3 of your, or even you could do all 3 Earthquakes. It depends. You could pop 3 of your Earthquakes really quickly. And then you want to do your Impales. And then go back to your other 2 Earthquakes, or just wait. Because Earthquake's on such a fast cooldown, you might want to just pop all 3 and then start your Impales. And then, pop your Reflect whenever you have it. And then, when, every 8 seconds, you can just swap to these guns. You don't actually have to reload them. Watch. There's a Moaning Winds. And I guess I didn't empty that gun out. And you just swap to them, swap to the other one, and swap back to your pistol. Never finish the reload, or you're going to have to empty them. So here we go. There's one of them. There's another one. And we're back to the pistol. So you can, pop this, do your damages, pop your Impales, and then switch guns and get them Moaning Wind pops. And there you go. And then you back to that. You'd have your buff again. You can use your Impales and then switch your Moaning Winds. It's pretty sweet. Once you get the feel for it, it feels really nice and fluid. And Those moaning winds, when buffed, do a lot of damage, and they do it in a big area. So preferably, you wouldn't be trying to attack just one hard to kill enemy. You want to get groups of enemies, so you're doing huge amounts of damage to everybody and popping them off. This build definitely is weak against solo targets. You can still do solo targets, but you'll probably, if you don't kill them right away, be sitting there waiting on cooldowns occasionally. Another thing that's nice, if there's birds, you can make them bleed with an earthquake and then shoot them with the pistol, and that is why I have death chains on it. If they're bleeding, a death chains does like 800,000 damage over 3 seconds. So, you know, a shot or two on a bird is going to kill them, which is pretty nice. Build works really good solo, works really good in a group, especially if you have a pyromancer that's buffing you. And I think that's everything. I think I went over all the stuff. I'm still trying to find better boots. And I'm still trying to do a different variation where I drop all the impale mods and I go with Marshall's gloves. Not the gloves, but the double jump, as well as the Marshall boots, which add a damage percent multiplicative of 1.5% each leap, which stacks to 3, which is really I've been told 300% more damage for 5 seconds. We're going to be trying that out, but I still need some more pieces. So check back on YouTube. Once I get the pieces, I'll have the build video for that and let you guys know if I think it works better or worse or what. But hopefully you guys enjoyed. And don't forget to follow and check me out live, Twitch TV /Inigo Montoya.